Hey guys, here we are with Ron and Diana, the masterminds behind Outlander, super cool Starz series. We're going to jump right into a bit of spoiler talk here, be warned. The last episode of the first season had people talking. Did you expect that reaction?
Well, yeah.
I think we knew, like, as soon as we agreed to do the show, we knew where it was going, so we knew that was going to be a big controversial end of the series and the end of the story, so we were kind of prepared for it,
Was there ever any talk about changing it or softening it? I mean, I know you guys don't want to do that, but like from like the network level or something?
The network never wants anything.
They were very supportive, we were very pleased.
Okay, which is nice.
It was great.
I mean, this is one of the things about cable TV now, right? You can do stuff like that. You don't have to, right? So what can we expect if you're not familiar with the book? What can we expect to come next in season 2?
Well, the second season picks up from the end of the first. You know, the last time we saw Claire and Jamie, they were on the ship heading for France and had decided to try to change the course of history and stop the Jacobite Rebellion. And that sort of defines, the beginning of the second season, where we go to France, we go to Paris, you start seeing a whole new show. I mean, it really looks completely different than season 1 of Outlander in that you're in a very urban environment. It's the aristocracy, it's the court of Louis XV. You're starting to meet historical characters like Prince Charlie, and you're getting involved in the Jacobite Rebellion and the politics. So it's a very, very different series, at least where it begins.
Have we left behind much of the first season cast then, because the supporting cast as a result of the location change?
Quite a few of them are still there, and more of them will be coming back when the second half of the show moves back to Scotland.
Okay, all right. So now how is it for you guys as creators? I mean, I know you're not on set all the time, but just to make that move in location, it's so beautiful, the first season in Scotland.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
Was it jarring to suddenly be out of the green, sort of?
It's a change.
Yeah.
It's a shock to the senses.
It's tough on the production because you're essentially rebuilding the show because there were no sets or costumes or props or anything that we could use from Scotland to be in Paris. So we had to really redesign a whole new series. So it was a big challenge just from a production standpoint.
Sure. Now, one of the most interesting things about Outlander, I think, is Claire is obviously our hero or our heroine, and yet you could argue that she's betrayed her husband, her first husband, right? Maybe betray is not the right word, but it's very complicated.
It's very complicated.
And nuanced situation. So in portraying that on screen, do you ever worry that she is going to come across unsympathetic? I mean, have there been times where you've had to snip things or pulled back a little bit?
I don't think so. It's they've done that part of the show very truly to the book, and I like moral ambiguity, so there's a lot of it in these books. But if you portray a character's circumstances, very obviously and honestly, then the audience will sympathize with that character. They understand why he or she is doing this or that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The idea of altering history, I mean, obviously with your Star Trek that history.
I've been around
history
the
is
time.
relative.
So it's it's a very complicated idea. Is there ever the worry that it gets too complicated for the average sort of viewer who maybe doesn't know science fiction or?
Not so far. I mean, I think it's complex and interesting, but I think, I think today's audience in a real sense wants it to be complex and interesting, and they want to be challenged, and they want to sort of not be led by the hand and make everything just so simplistic. So I think one of the strengths of the show is the complexity that Diana had in the novels that sort of drew me in and has drawn readers in for so long, because it is an interesting, elaborate tapestry of a lot of different characters and motivations and the time travel aspect and the politics, and I think that's all really to our benefit.
Yeah. And what's nice too nowadays is if you don't quite get something, you can just rewind on the DVR anyway, right?
That's a help, yes.
How much room is there to depart from the books? Not that you want to or need to, but do you guys feel that
you need to, believe me. Yeah, they only have 16 hours. Outlander is the shortest of my books at 300,000 words.
Wow.
And, I read it myself for a recording for the blind service. It took me 32 hours to read it out loud.
Wow.
Let alone film it. Yeah, they have to do things. But they've done a wonderful job with the adaptation, with preserving, the essentials of the storyline, and especially the deepness of the emotional interactions that give the story its power.
when you watch it, do you sometimes miss things like
Oh yeah, tons of things,
Yeah.
but you just can't have everything.
Yeah.
And I feel that way too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
you're always cutting things from script, or you're cutting things in the editing room. There's always a part of you that's going, "Oh, I wish we had found a way to fit that in," or "I wish we had done that." But you take your best shot, and you just try
Yeah.
to make the best show you can.
Yeah.
And I know you're obviously a big fan of the books. I've heard the story about how I think your wife turned you onto them. Have you been able to? Have you guys seen any evidence that the books have found more of a following because of the show, perhaps?
Oh heck yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I remember I was here last year when you guys were here, and I had a woman outside the hall begging me to get her in somehow, but she wanted to get the free swag they were giving away for Outlander.
Oh, really?
And I don't think it had even aired yet at that
No.
point.
No.
You have a very devoted fan
We have
following,
a
right?
great fandom. Yeah.
So is that a way that you two can connect? Because obviously your Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica background has you've got those fans, and then you have your fans. It's
Yeah.
just like you ever bond over like a drink, or like, oh, I have this crazy story about.
We have a lot in common. Let's put it that way.
I caught both of your cameos
Yeah?
in the first season, right? Are we going to see
Same
you guys on
episode,
camera again, or
I'm not planning on doing it again.
was it tough? Or
It's hard. You're standing in these heavy. Your costume is probably 10 times heavier than mine was, but they're
It
heavy
was, but-
woolen costumes.
Yeah.
You stand. The life of a background player or an extra is not an easy one.
Yeah.
So you're there for long hours. It's a thankless task, and I'm not eager to do it again.
even when you don't get special treatment as the creators.
It's
No,
not
no.
cool when you're running the show to
Yeah.
be the extra that gets all the special treatment.
No,
so
you
you
don't
try
do
to
that.
just blend in with everybody else.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's like there's that code on set, I guess. Right?
Yeah, it's like, don't be that guy.
So again, as someone who hasn't read the books, there were certain things that happened in season 1 that were shocking. Are we going to keep being shocked? I mean, I don't want you to give anything
Yes,
away.
but not in the same way.
Okay.
There's definitely twists and turns and reversals of fortune, and that's one of the great things of the story. It's a long, interesting yarn with a lot of places that you don't expect to go to.
Yeah. And you said you're going to France. In the future of the series, do you continue the sort of globetrot a bit, or?
Yeah, the books go where history went.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, why did you leave Scotland? I love Scotland."
Right.
I said, "Well, because the Scots left Scotland at this particular point. There's nothing going on in Scotland after they left."
And one of the things I like about it too is it really is a history lesson. Like
It is,
I'm
yeah.
learning about things that I was vaguely aware of.
Yeah.
But I think it's great fun, and I think it's really interesting how it appeals to two different demographics as well. Like the men and the women both seem to
Yeah.
really be into it.
They do. That's one thing I was concerned with when the books were originally published. I said, I do not want you to sell them as women's fiction, because there are things in these that men see that women don't. They
Right.
respond to it on a completely different level.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's the opposite challenge that we had on Battlestar Galactica,
Right.
because Battlestar Galactica on the Sci-Fi Channel was hard to get women
Yeah.
to go down that aisle,
Yeah.
and now getting men to go down this aisle. So I hear sort of the flip thing
Yeah.
that I used to hear. I used to hear, I got my girlfriend to watch Battlestar. Now I hear, I got my boyfriend
Yes.
to watch
Yeah.
Outlander.
Which is nice to hear, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is nice.
Word
Well,
of mouth is the best thing
yes.
you can get.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Our pleasure.
Good luck
Thank
at the
you.
rest of the show, and for all of your Comic-Con needs, keep it locked to IGN.